What's up, everyone? This is Thomas Edwards from thomasedwardsjr.com. Welcome to the Weekly Intention, where I teach you how to live a better life right now using practical lessons from personal stories. Today, I have an amazing guest that I'm so excited to share with you. From the moment I met her, I knew that she had an amazing amount of gifts to share with the world. And part of me wanted to be selfish and keep it for myself. I won't lie. And I also knew that those gifts to be shared with the world will only benefit on a bigger scale. And so I want to introduce Allana Pratt. Welcome. I'll read a little bit about her. She is a global media personality who awakens open-hearted, unapologetic living after heartbreak. Her vulnerability and courage has landed her a featured weekly column on the Good Men Project, being featured as an icon of influence and a guest expert on Huffington Post, People Magazine, Forbes, Jenny McCarthy's show, among other national media. This Ivy League grad is the author of 4 top-selling books, has interviewed Whoopi Goldberg, Alanis Morissette, and Dr. Bernie Siegel, and hosted the edgy podcast Intimate Conversations, where listeners learn how to find the relationship they deserve. A certified coach, Allana has been asked by Lisa Gibbons to coach her during Dancing with the Stars. With over 4.5 million viewers on YouTube, Allana is a go-to authority when struggling to trust again after heartbreak. She offers private coaching and retreats to support her clients having thriving, intimate relationships with themselves first, which naturally attracts the ideal partnerships. I mean, duh.
I love that profound ending to the bio. Duh.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I love reading bios because bios come from different places, right? And oftentimes I feel like when people write a bio, this is their chance to project themselves as the highest version of themselves. Whether or not they actually live into that being is another story, but at least in the bio, it does that. And the one thing I've noticed from when we first met, it was actually rather brief in its own context. I felt that energy. I felt that congruence. I felt that integrity that was there. And that, for me, especially on my journey of aligning myself and being around people who live at that level, that was something that I was immediately drawn to. And so thank you for taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you for having me and for continuing to follow up so we could make this happen. And very, very like-minded when we were viewers or listeners. We were on an audition on a set, being just thrown these questions at us. Even a person came on set to ask for coaching. And so I really got a sense of like who you are in the moment. And I really got that you're very like this beautiful blend of like heart-centered and practical. Which I think is like this podcast, right? Like, let's tell some stories and like, let's get the lessons and apply them to our life. And that you're grounded and you look me right in the eye. You don't like dart around. You're just really, it seems, at peace in your being. And I'm really happy to be here. And I don't know if we want to share, but even right before this call, some like heavy stuff went down and you were just real with me. I really appreciate that. I think it's missing in a lot of the dating world that we have to like put on, kind of like you were saying, the bio, like who are they really? But you just shared with me what was going on. And on a date, I think what's going to make you stand apart is your authenticity, is your being real. Everybody's going to lead with their first, their shiny parts, right?
Yeah, of course.
But when things get difficult, who do you be? Do you shut down? Do you put sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit and pretend there's nothing wrong? Or can you just be authentic? And you were with me. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for holding the space for that too. For those who are here watching or listening, I was with a good friend of mine who actually lost a best friend. And in that experience of being with him and supporting him as he goes through his stages of grief, in a way that was very unexpected. The person that he lost, passed in a very unexpected way. I then met a friend of his who at the time had never lost someone close to him, and then literally moments later had found out that he just did. And to be in that space was heavy. It was heavy. And for those who go through whatever it is, loss, any type of grief, pain, shame, guilt, blame, rage, Those are intense emotions that whether you are moving physically or you're standing still, it'll still exhaust you. And it'll still take energy away because you're giving that for someone else who is in need of it more. And, part of this understanding of this process is also our ability, both myself and Allana, to show that with practice, you're able to handle those emotions, have them flow through you, and still be able to step up and do what it is that you desire or you feel you must do or you are meant to do. And so I want that to be, an initial lesson. Get an early lesson on this one. The cycle of emotions and the variety that you feel will be things that flow through you and will ultimately give you more endurance to feel them again, to process them again, and to come out on the other side a more powerful person.
I love that what you're sharing here, because I used to be a professional people pleaser, before I became a coach. And I had really suppressed all emotions, because if you showed emotions in my family, my dad was either drunk or stoned, and you would get, raged at, and mom was really good at being codependent and pushing it all down. So there was not really a safe place to be with emotions. So I didn't even know I had an inside. All I knew was the outside. Let's be 3 steps ahead, make sure I'm safe and approved of. And obviously those emotions built up quite like the masks behind me. Like that's part of why I put the masks on my set, because I had so many of them myself. And when I started to come inside and the emotions started to come up, I had no hope in hell. I didn't know what to do with it. It was like a tsunami of emotions. And I've been a coach for 20 years and I've been coached for 20 years, learning more and more processes about this. And I really like what you said. If you can be with it as it goes through you, you don't resist it. That doesn't work. You don't latch on and be it. That doesn't work. But if you can be the space through which it happens with non-judgment, allowance, patience, courage, bravery, on the other side, there's a transformation. So we can't get rid of energy, right? We can't create it or destroy it. We know that from science, but we can transform it. So if you can be with it, it will transform into wisdom, strength, resilience, compassion, humility, something to make you a better person. And I remember the first time, Thomas, when I experienced death, actually. I was young. I was 16. Well, I guess I don't even think a cat had died. Grandma's hadn't died. Grandpa's died before I was born, but it was the first death. And I was out at the lake. We had a cabin at the lake. I'm from Canada. And my friends were going to come by that weekend and have a sleepover. And one of the friends came down the stairs and said, James is dead. And I was like, you guys they're always playing jokes on me. They were always like kidding with me. And then her parents walked down behind her and the look on their face was like solemn. I'm like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah.
And I ran into the house. I said, Mom, James is dead. And then they got all shocked. Okay, that didn't work. So I ran past everybody and it was right on like a highway, like a 2-lane highway out in, nature. So I ran up onto the highway. I was running down the highway, screaming at the top of my lungs, looking at the top of the trees. No! Like if I could scream long enough, it wouldn't be true. And I could hear like cars screeching and I could hear my friend saying there's been a death. And I remember my dad, who I really couldn't ever rely on because he was drunk and stoned all the time. But there he was walking down the yellow line, literally. And he took my shoulders and he just grabbed me and he goes, if this is it, let's get off. You're going to see your friend again. We live forever. Who knew my dad was this spiritual dude? I did not know this was true. Didn't know my dad had any wisdom whatsoever. And various events occurred later in the day. My friends took me to go bike riding to try to get me in a better mood. And we're coming back down from the top of the hill down to where the lake opens up and there's like, you can see the beautiful lake and it was a clear blue night and a blue sky, all the little cabins in a row. No shit, Thomas. There were 2 rainbows right over my cabin.
Wow.
Now get this. My friend's mother had died 10 months earlier. And we had talked so many times walking to school back and forth about how much he missed her. Yeah. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, they're together. He's okay. There is more to this life than meets the eye. The spiritual realm is real. And it was sort of like a fork in the road. It was a choice. I could either have not known him, not experienced this pain, or known him, experience this pain and learn how to open my heart again and move forward, learn how to love fully, learn how to live fully. And I feel so, obviously I took option number 2, door number 2. And it led to me hopping on my Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi from Canada to LA. And then I lived in Tokyo and then New York. Like I've had this really fun life, but I don't think I would have taken those risks had I not been shown, live fully. You don't know what tomorrow brings. Say, I love you when you mean it. Show up even if you're going to get rejected. Live your truth. Slow down and listen to what that truth is in the first place. So I feel grateful to have experienced death pretty early on, because I believe my whole life is different as a result of it.
I like to believe that our life is filled with what I call crisis inflection points, where there's the life that we live, and then there's the life that we want to live. And every time we choose to not live the life that we want to live because of conflict, we go deeper and deeper into the darkness that is the life that we don't want, even though it's the life that we're living right now. And at every point of crisis and the inflection point, there's an opportunity for transformation to take place. I mean, you can either like live with the baseline of what your life currently is and have some type of maintenance and control over that. Well, not control, but just maintenance. There's the opportunity to try to control things in a way that like you feel like you're controlling, but you don't have any control at all.
Yeah, that's a total bullshit. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's the funny thing about control. Control makes you feel like your life is improving, but eventually it'll reveal that you had no control at all, and all of a sudden you're back, maybe even worse than where you were once before.
Often worse, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can also ignore it and continue to fall down, those moments of crisis until you hit what will eventually be your bottom. We've all experienced that in some shape or form. Yeah. And I think this kind of speaks to what your experience was, this moment, and what your dad was actually trying to say was this moment of surrender, where you just become at peace with the decision that in order for you to change your life, you have to give up that control and move with your heart and go in towards that direction. And I know for me personally, and the clients I've worked with, I'm sure you can share, say the same. When that moment happens, people's lives shift and change in a way that no one, not me, not you, or even themselves, they couldn't even have imagined.
Totally.
And so so this is actually really a great foundation for a conversation here, because I feel like in order to really understand those things, and for some people who are listening right now, this might be a very like high level thing. Maybe you're hearing these words, compliance, surrender. You're like, what is going on? And I think what it really comes down to, and I think this is why I wanted you to be here to talk about this, is the amount of intimacy with oneself that needs to be created in order for you to get to a place of surrender or even a place of compliance or whatever, but to have that level of understanding and awareness about oneself. And so share with me, what is your experience around your transformation around intimacy with yourself?
Yeah. So for me, I'll just begin with intimacy. We think it's just sex, right? We're just talking about genital copulation here. No, it includes awesome bound, chicka bound for sure. But intimacy is really this transparent, vulnerable, honest, raw, real connection with self, all aspects of self with another. We can have intimacy with our body when we listen to what the aches and pains are saying. We can have intimacy with the divine. We can have a relationship with the universe. We can have even intimacy with money, appreciating money, being grateful for money, managing it well. We can have an intimate relationship with our purpose of why we're on the planet. So everywhere we look, we're in relationship. So is that relationship honest and real, or is it fake and trying to look good and keep up with the Joneses? Your life is going to be a reflection of the depth of that honesty and transparency. So the presupposition of having a healthy intimate relationship, so the step before having a healthy intimate relationship is, do you judge yourself as right or wrong, good or bad? Or can you see the beauty in all of life where there is pleasure and pain, and neither is actually better or worse? We all think, yeah, more pleasure, less pain. But let's think about that for a second. That's just very knee jerk. Too much pleasure, you forget to take out the garbage, pay taxes, and pick up the kids. Too much pleasure can be a detriment.
Yeah.
Now, pain can be wonderful. We grow, we have resilience, we have grit, we have fortitude, right? We get stronger through challenging times. So if we look at life, okay, so if life isn't really about doing it right, looking good, if life is just life, and we're just here to experience, and there's gifts and lessons and messages in both the pleasure and pain, then we don't have to resist ourselves with an intimate relationship. We don't have to say, oh, I'm very strong and I look good and I'm so amazing. We can go, and here's my wobbly, hot mess self. She's kind of a hot mess, but we love her too. She's allowed at the party as well. We don't have to resist these parts of ourselves. We don't have to only conditionally love ourselves, wondering why we attract people that conditionally love us back. I mean, that's insane. If we want someone that doesn't judge us, has spaciousness and allowance, listens, and can really be honoring of all parts of us, stay connected during tough times, keep our heart open, even when it's scary. If we want somebody to be like that for us, but we're not like that with ourselves, come on, people, it's science. It's all a vibration. It's a resonance. There's no way you can manifest someone at that capacity if you haven't developed it first in yourself. So this intimacy is really about, I am willing to sit with my scared self, like the heavy conversation you had earlier, and just let it be okay that I'm sad. Let it be okay that this is heavy. I don't need to fix it. I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong. I don't need to get in a better mood. I don't need to put sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit and go, well, you'll find another friend, I'm sure. Like, I mean, that would just be awful if you said
right?
that, right?
Yeah. Totally.
You just be and breathe. And then this transformation, as we alluded to before, happens where you become more compassionate, more patient, or stronger. So this intimate journey for me, starting to listen to myself, as I said earlier, I didn't listen to myself. All I wanted was to be safe and look good. But I started to feel so fake. I could see where I said yes when I meant no. I could see where I got married for safety. And I couldn't, like, I started to really look myself in the mirror, like really spend time with these feelings. I could tell I was fake. I could tell I was talking a mile a minute. I could tell that I wasn't being authentic. I was saying or doing or being what they wanted me to be in order to like me. And I started to hate who I had become, which wasn't the real me. It was the fake me.
I was going to ask you, what were some of the, because, the idea of bringing out different parts of yourself, right? Now we're going into real intimacy, right? Knowing all parts of ourselves, even the parts that we're most afraid of. So my two-part question for you is, what was the part of you that you had the most intense feelings around, and what were those feelings?
Oh my God, we need 5 hours. There were so many. One of the first parts, so I've been highly trained in all sorts of different quantum psychology, spiritual technology. I also believe in the power of plant medicine. So I've done a lot of ayahuasca journeys and mushroom journeys, etc. And so I was on an ayahuasca journey, and there were all of my parts that I was ashamed of that came to me. And the very first night I did it, I didn't like those parts of me. So I resisted, which of course makes you puke your guts out all night. And it didn't go so well. And so the shaman, I said, I don't want to do this again. I don't like this. And he's like,
I hear a lot from my friends.
Really?
From their experiences. It's
like,
you do realize that's like you rejecting yourself, and like that's the physical representation.
Yes. So that's what I was. And he goes, oh, you're a stubborn one. You need more medicine. I'm like, more medicine. So I got more medicine. And he's like, all you do is when this aspect of self comes, you just say, thank you, mama, or Pancha mama. And I choose love. So fine. The second night I did it, all these aspects of me, she was ashamed. She was insecure. She was, trying to be a people pleaser, all these things I didn't want anyone to know about me. They all showed up and I went, oh God, hi. What was I supposed to say? Something like, I love you. And then it calmed down. And then another one arose, calm down. And at the very, very end, I was able to look upon my most ashamed, embarrassed, thought I was a loser self with like, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? she's doing her best. Like I had compassion. It went from like resistance to allowance to compassion to love. Like it was a process.
Yeah.
And I could look upon this part of me and go, you know what? She's doing her best. And after that, I swear, Thomas, I was able to look people in the eye. I wasn't able to hold contact before. I was afraid they'd see the real me.
Yeah.
So that was like probably one big moment. Another big moment of really going inside and learning to be intimate with myself kind of happened over about a 12-year period of time that got worse and worse. It was a court battle. Yeah. And I was so wanting to look good to the court. I'm a perfect mother, but they were like, they used everything against me. Like, of course. Well, you're an intimacy expert. You probably sleep with your clients. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And so my like reaction made me look guilty, but it was like so mean, but I didn't have that centeredness yet to just go like, now if it had happened to me, they said that, I'd probably go, you're looking for a new coach? I've got some things. Like I would fuck with them, right? Totally. Yeah. But back then, my child was on the line. They were trying to take my child away from me. I was not centered. Then they'd say things like, oh, you're a coach. You're not a PhD. Who are you to tell people anything? You're probably a narcissist. This is my purpose. I help millions of people. So I was defending and justifying myself, which made me look, again, guilty. And now I would simply calm down and explain, well, you know, I understand that there was just Western doctors, but now we're open to naturopaths and integrative medicine, et cetera. Like now we sort of blend Eastern and Western. Same with traditional therapy. Now there's coaching. I would just explain it to them with nothing to prove and nothing to justify. Yeah. But at the time, I still had insecurity inside. I was still like disconnected from me. I still tried to be, you know, justify why I didn't have a PhD, as opposed to go, hey, if you're looking for the traditional PhD route, that's not me. I can give you a referral. I hadn't grown up yet inside. So all of these resistances where you justify and you try to be somebody you're not, that's an aspect you haven't come home to. You don't have an intimate relationship with yourself first. Yeah. And so that's inner work to do on anywhere that you get triggered and go into proving or hiding. That would be the opposite, right? Mm-hmm. That tells you that's the same distance you are away from your true self, that aspect of yourself that needs to come home.
Yeah. And I love that. Like, well, like so gracefully expressed in that way. I mean, you were in a position where your back was against the wall and you had to defend yourself. It was in alignment with survival.
Yeah, I was totally in survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they used it against me. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in that mode, what else are you going to do? You're going to defend yourself. You're going to scratch. You're going to claw just to get out of the corner so you can breathe. Right.
Yes. And yet the gift.
Yeah. Like in those moments, you question yourself. You question your purpose. You question your identity. And that's where crisis comes from. You know, crisis is always really about questioning, you know, the challenging of your purpose, the challenging of your identity. And it's in those moments where, in your case, if you didn't feel centered or fortified in that purpose and that identity, that someone can come in and completely shake things up. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I see it as a gift though, Thomas, because in the time it sucked bad. And over that long 12-year period of time, I lost my house. I went into debt, like $250,000 legal debt. And in the end, my son took his dad's side for a period of time. And they arrived in the driveway one day, took all of his stuff, and dad says, you're crazy. And he's right. And I'm out of here. Like I even lost my child's love. And so the good news, because I'm on the spiritual path, I walk my talk. I had to really look deep inside again. For a period of time, it was like, well, the court doesn't think I'm a good mom, but my son loves me. My ex doesn't think I'm a good mom, but my son loves me. He had even turned my dad and my sister like away from me as well. But even though that my son still loves me, I was still trying to look good on the outside. I was still seeking my worth from the outside in with my son's love, which is a lot of pressure to put on a child. And it's not balanced nor healthy, but again, doing the best I could. And then when he finally rejected me, the gift in that was, okay, now let's begin. Let's truly begin. We've been taking all these steps to come home. There's nowhere left to go but home. And so let's come home and see who this person is. Let's see if there's God or the universe in there. Let's just surrender like all the way. And the good news was I found compassion for all these parts of myself. I learned how to honor. I don't need to be perfect. This is who I am and this is who I'm not. I don't need to justify. And that my
Mhm.
son has every right to push me away if I'm, putting so much pressure on him to make me look good. That's no different than dating, wanting approval and pushing away your date, right? That's
Yeah.
the same dynamic. And then the beautiful thing was when I finally forgave myself and forgave him and forgave his father, like forgiveness in all directions, inward and outward, he called. And he's like, you know what? I'm getting older now, Mom. I just want to be a guy and live with Dad. He has a better sound system than you. He lives closer to school than you do. I just want to be a guy. It's not personal. And I went, and I could actually hear him. And I go, you're right. Let's just meet up for facials and hamburgers from time to time. And he's
Yeah.
like, that'd be great, Mom. And so now we have an awesome relationship. I feel clear still,
Yeah.
no trigger inside about my ex. And I get to share these messages with people and let them be safe wherever they are in this intimate journey. And they end up telling me things, Thomas, that they often say, I've never told another human this. A lot of shame around our sexuality, shame about how things went down with relationships, with our parents. It could be addictive things that happen. And because I've practiced and practiced and practiced not to judge these aspects of myself, I am a pretty safe space to just get them. And I say, tell me more. And they're like, you didn't judge me. I go, well, there's nothing to judge. You did your best. Let's heal that wound. Let's integrate it into your strength. And then let's use this as fuel in the wings of your purpose, of you expressing yourself authentically and having relationships with ideal partners that also see the real you, because you are now honoring the real you. So I would not be anywhere near as happy or successful if I hadn't been in those dark shadows. So not that I wish any of that on any of you, but the idea is whatever you're going through, it's the deeper the roots, the higher the shoots, right? It's the fertilizer. It stinks. Yeah, it's stinky. But hey, then you grow.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, and I love, I mean, every time you say it, I feel more called to that being the lesson. And so we'll see if it comes up. But the idea that, you're doing your best, right? You have your tools, and then you have the person using the tools, right? Like that combination can only produce a certain type of results based on how good the tool and the person is, right? You might have the best tool, but if you're in a shitty place, the tool's not going to be effective. But if you have a great person with shitty tools, you're not going to get the desired result too. But at the end of the day, you do what you must because you feel like that's the best you can do. And, it's when you become okay with that and then surrender to the idea that, having support, learning new things, getting new tools, or going deep within yourself to, and I use this word, I'm using this word intently with intention, because I think it's going to scare people when I use this word, but that's the idea. When you expose yourself to the truth, the facts of your past, the facts of your present conditions, and also the facts of what you want your life to look like, you can really take an honest assessment and say to yourself, the person I am right now is not capable of producing what I want. And so how do I get from where I am now to become the person that does have those things in my life, has the relationship, has the job, has the lifestyle, and it does take a lot of work, and it requires you to be intimate with itself. And that bravery comes from, I believe, the comfort around that intimacy. The more you get to know yourself and the more you become comfortable with those feelings. And I know for me personally, a lot of my, when I was in my darkness, a lot of my feelings were suppressed by alcohol and drugs and socializing and all those things that, and at the end of the day, when I look back, all I wanted to do was connect. I just wanted to connect with people. I wanted to connect with my wife. I wanted to connect with you. I wanted to connect with so many people. And part of it, and a lot of that was because I didn't want to let you connect with all of me. Right? I wanted you to connect with the parts of me that I thought were cool enough to be connected with. And that's just not sustainable.
No, it's not possible. It's actually insane. But that's how I was. I was totally insane. I actually thought you couldn't see my wobbly parts. Like what? That's the funny part. It's like you can totally see them. Right. I like your choice of words, expose. If we think of like a wound and it's all covered up and like there's no oxygen that can get in, it's just gonna like mold, fester, right? And
Yeah.
tearing off a Band-Aid isn't necessarily fun, but then the good, the light, the air, the medicine can get in, and we can start the healing. And so one of the ways that I help people begin to expose the truth, know the truth, hear the truth, their intuition, their instincts is like, it's like an inner child way of looking. A lot of us have done inner child work, but I go through a long transformational process that I call little you. And the idea is, when you go inside and expose these aspects of yourself you don't want anyone to see, you must find connection with them if you're actually going to be in a healthy, honoring, present, intimate relationship with another. You can't show up half-assed and expect them to show up fully. If you do half-assed, you're going to get half-assed. Okay. Exactly. So that's just the craziness of it. So as you go inside and you're realizing that you've been half-assed with yourself, you've been shoving half of yourself in the closet, hitting them with a 2x4, just shut up. Don't let anybody know you exist. Right. Yeah. You kind of open the door and you go inside, and first you apologize. You just go, I was doing my best thinking that by avoiding you and focusing on the good, everything would be good.
Yeah.
I see that didn't work. I see that it made you feel even more rejected. I'm sorry. I did my best. I didn't mean to make you feel worse. So first you authentically apologize. You explain that you're not like an evil person, but you were doing your best and you're sorry. And then second, you have to make up for the damage done. So I've been avoiding you, rejecting you, abandoning you, judging you. I am drawing a line in the sand. I'm not going to do that anymore. But I'm going to be honest with you. It's not easy to feel the feelings that I'm having with you. I don't like to feel shame. I don't like to feel fear. I don't like to feel sad. I don't like these feelings of being with you. I'll just be honest. But I'm not going to judge you or reject you anymore. So we need to practice breathing. We need to practice just being an allowance. Allowance doesn't mean I like it. Allowance doesn't even mean I prefer it, but it means I will not resist it. So that's the next stage of like, okay, here I am. It's sort of like going into a room that's really stinky. I don't like it stinky in here, but I'm not going to leave. I'm going to be an allowance. It's kind of stinky. And so this part of you is starting to go, really? Okay, you're not going to reject me. Okay, you haven't. Okay, you're here. You're stinky in here, but you're still here. Okay. And you start to build inner trust. You start to build inner intimacy. You actually start to have love. It's actually real love, because love is not conditional. That's not love. That's condition. That's judgment. So you can't go into the closet and find this part of you and go, I'm here so that you feel better, so that we look good. Hi. Like, no, it's not.
It doesn't work at all.
No, it's going to smell your strategy. You're a coercive, strategizing, whatever. So no. So you go in and then you close the door and then you throw away the key. You what? Yeah, you throw away the key. So unconditional love would be love without condition, which would mean I am going to stay here and love you as you are forever. That would be unconditional, right? And then you mean it and you stay and you bring out a popsicle, bring out a shot of tequila, whatever you need. You just make friends and you hang out and you get curious. You don't try to fix. You just go, tell me more. Wow, tell me more. Holy shit. Wow, tell me more. Tell me more until this part of you is done. Totally acknowledged, totally validated, totally heard, absolutely emptied out and heard. And then something happens, magic. I don't make it happen to my clients, but I hold space for it. The process works. It's worked for me. But if you can be there long enough with that aspect of yourself, they go, you know what? I don't really want to be sad anymore. Can we leave the closet now? Right? Yeah. They actually do want to come home into your heart. They actually do want to say, well, as long as it's okay if I get sad from time to time, that you'll just give me a hug. We'll go for a walk in nature. We'll write in your journal. We'll have a good cry. We'll talk to a therapist. We'll go to a counselor. Could you just not ever reject me again? Sure. Okay, then let's leave. So this aspect of yourself will, through grace, through surrender, not through pushing, through the opposite. It's totally opposite, right? It will evolve. And then, oh my God, so you have this ability to be with yourself when you're sad. Thomas did, because he was just your two friends when they were sad. And I doubt you fixed them and told them, oh, just look on the bright side and it's going to be fine. And like, you just could be present.
Fix, right? Yeah.
Well, but people who haven't been through death, who are uncomfortable with death, what they think they should do to be nice and kind and a helpful friend is fix.
Yeah.
They do. They're not bad people, but they don't know how to be with their own discomfort, so they can't be with the discomfort of another. So once you have
Yes.
this inner relationship with all of your wobbly parts, then you're in a loving relationship with another, and they're sad, mad, whatever. You can just be there. Ooh, and then the
Yeah.
intimacy and the connection and the
Hmm.
vulnerability, and you grow closer over time. That's why we do it. And then
Yeah.
they can be there for you. Oh, it's good shit.
And that's really juicy because that's when you become more of yourself, when you can experience someone else's emotions and not take them on as your own,
Right.
or put create self-judgment based on someone else's feelings. Like,
Right.
I understand that these intense feelings around guilt, shame, grief, rage, anger, blame, these are judgmental, type emotions that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And these are things that we all want to avoid. If we can go our entire lives without feeling these things, all the better, even though that's not the reality. With that understood, like, being able to become intimate with that, become comfortable with those emotions, know what they mean for you as you experience them, become intimate, and then be able to go out into the world and see how other people are experiencing their own emotions and not taking on it as your own, or not projecting, because their discomfort doesn't have to become yours.
Yes.
That creates a great opportunity to connect with someone. And now you're taking your experience around building intimacy and you're giving them an opportunity to create intimacy as well with themselves and
Yeah.
also with you.
I love this because
Yeah.
to me, the more I do this work, I can be intimate with pretty much any experience. I'm
Yeah.
not perfect, but like, let's say shit goes down, I can be with it because I'm not going to resist it. I'm going to
Yeah.
look for the gift in it. I'm going to breathe through it. I can be patient with it. I'm curious about it. I'm honoring about it. And then when you have that point of view, all of life is for you. And I mean that. If you have the point of view and you can be with all of life and be intimate with all of life and resist nothing and look for the gift, nothing takes you off your center. Everything can be used as fuel in the sails of your ship. Everything. Nothing needs to take you off center. And that feels amazing. Sure, I'd prefer things go a certain way and look a certain way and whatever. But even anger is awesome. I mean, not projected onto another, not projected onto self, because that's depression, but just the energy itself is telling me, hey, something needs to change. You're out of integrity with your values. That's awesome. Thanks for letting me know. What should I choose? Right? It's for you. Even this intensity is for you. Yeah.
So, those emotions, even though we look to avoid it, they're actually a part of our emotional compass for us to determine what needs to change in our lives. And then we have to become willing to create that change for the better. I love that. I mean, I want to share a quick story because, to talk about the child, the inner child, that was my first meditative part work experience. And I remember the first time I did it, I was in the woods and my inner child was there, Tommy, and he was playing video games. And my immediate response was to go over there and talk to him. But he was like, shh, and just kept playing video games. And for days, I would go into these woods and see him and try to engage him. He's like, no, I'm playing. And instead of just trying to directly communicate with him, I decided to just look over his shoulder and see what he was playing. And I just sat there.
Nice.
Yeah. And when I watched him play games that I was into, I would talk about the video games. He would then slowly start to open up until eventually we were able to have some great conversations and be able to, it even feels even a little emotional about it even still, because the love that I have for him was so deep and profound and unknown to me. And all he wanted to do was be protected. That's all. He wanted to come out and play. He wanted to be protected, but he also didn't want to feel judged or attacked. And that was exactly how I was living my life on the outside.
Right.
Fear of being judged, fear of being attacked, fear of being rejected for all of who I am, not just for certain parts. And it wasn't until I stepped out with him and said, listen, I got you, hold my hand, we're going to stand together as one. Did it allow me to bring out the playful, the intimate, the jokester, just the fun-loving person that I once was, that I am now.
Yeah.
And so that's just one example of what creating intimacy can do for you in your life,
Yes.
you know? And I feel like it's a good way to even transition to what I think the lesson is here is the truth will set you free. I think that's the first thing that needs to be said. And the way you get to the truth and the way you get to that freedom is by allowing yourself to see all of your parts and to spend time with each part of you and to express the unconditional love that you do have for yourself, but you haven't really expressed it in a way that's going to be received by that part. And once that part is received that unconditional love, the way you show up in the world will be completely different. It'll be almost like you have new lenses on in your life, because the way you're able to show up and the way people see you will create opportunities unlike anything you've experienced.
Absolutely. I like to say, and it's not my quote, I read it someplace, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Yeah. So we're not saying that, oh, everybody just go love themselves, it's just going to be so great. No, it's going to be difficult. Yeah. And it's going to build grit and resilience, but that's building the muscle of self-love. Because once you come home to this beautiful relationship that we're experiencing with our little selves inside, you're still going to show up in the world. You're still going to get triggered if they reject you for a minute. Totally. And then the choice point is like, wait a minute, am I going to go outside in or am I going to go inside out? Okay, if I go outside in, what you just said defines my worth. Whoa. I got little me here. Okay, so that sucked. They didn't like us. Well, all right, let's go play video games. Okay, come on, let's go. Like, so you have this relationship on the inside. Yeah. You still might not prefer what goes down, but you're going to be okay. You are okay. You will always be okay because you're home on the inside. And that allows you to not seek to control, seek to look good, seek to manipulate. And then when people are with you, they don't feel any of that used car salesman energy or woman, salesman, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And they're like, ooh, there's something about your energy. It's so yummy to be around. You're safe to be around because it's there. That inner connection is now being reflected on the outside. The spaciousness of just sitting and watching the video game with little you for a while is the same spaciousness you have when you're on a date or you're out with a client. You can just be, and they're like, God, it just feels so good to be with you. So it's worth the work. Yeah.
It is worth the work. And what it also does, it shifts the focus from you trying to create self-value from external things, and you really spending time investing in creating self-worth from internal things, which all of us are actually naturally born with. And throughout the experience of our lives, our self-value increases or decreases depending on experiences, upbringing, family values, what we're told in school, what we're taught in school, what we read. I mean, it's constantly happening even now, even watching this interview as we speak. Some of you might be feeling like, wow, like I've gotten a lot out of this experience. I'm going to go apply this to my life. And now your self-value is going to increase. For some of you, this might have triggered so many things in your life right now that you're feeling like your self-value has diminished. But either way, what this will do is it'll force you to look, not force you, I don't want to use that word, but you get to look inside of yourself and determine how you want to invest in yourself to increase your self-value. So that way, anything that you actually do end up receiving externally becomes just a bonus, not something that is a means to an end, not something that is required for you to feel fulfilled. You know, everything really comes from the inside, and that is difficult work to do. So let me make sure that that's clear, right? There's a level of work that is simple and not easy. And if you're willing to do it, or if you're willing to get support around your journey to doing it, it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, you get a return on your investment in literally every area of your life. So I think we're saying the same thing, but just to be on the same page as we wrap up, and I've just so enjoyed this. Yeah. My point of view is that our worth is our worth is our worth. It never changes. Yeah, I don't even think I think it's the same worth when you die and you're floating around wherever and you get in a body. Like, I don't think our worth ever changes. I think we're always desired, needed, intended to be here on the planet and give our evolutionary gifts. And our worth, no matter what anybody says, no matter if the money goes or doesn't, go, or the people come and go, or the ass gets big or the ass gets small, or whatever happens. Like, I don't think our worth ever changes, ever. And yet our experience of that is warped when we look from the outside in to our bank accounts, to our accomplishments,
Yes.
to our achievements, relationship status, to our whatever's on the outside, then we can misunderstand that our worth just changed. But the truth
Yes.
is our worth never changed, just our accomplishments changed. Are we saying the same thing?
Yes, and the perception.
Yeah, cool.
The perception of worth, right?
Say it again.
Perception of worth.
The perception of worth. We want to come home to the accurate perception of worth, which nobody can ever take it away. It's inherent. It'll always be there. Exactly. And when you do the inner work, funny thing, when you don't need anything on the outside, you get it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't need
it. Right?
Right. Yeah, because all of our neediness just went away because we're overflowing from the inside out. And now we have all these invitations and fun shits going on. And you're so authentically grateful. And you're like, wow, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's exactly, I mean, that's how we should wrap up. I love that. It's when you when you feed yourself internally, then the things that you want externally do come in, and it comes in a magical way. Like you want miracles. To question it, but a part of you already knows that it was meant to happen because you did the work, you know? And so if you see people living that type of life, then you understand exactly what I just said.
Yes. Yeah. And have yourself some of that. Yeah. Thank you so much for living your purpose, doing the podcast for us, meeting, you know, you're going to be on my podcast soon and all the things we're going to create. You do great work in the world. Thank you for the honor and privilege of being on your show.
And thank you for being on here and sharing your energy and your gifts and just the message. I know that people who are watching this are going to absolutely enjoy it. So if they want to get more of you, because I know they do, where can they find you?
Get some of that. Oh, you're so sweet. So ladies, my site, allanapratt.com is where you would go. I've got wonderful complimentary downloads there. Gentlemen, gethertosayyes.com. That's my men's site, complimentary downloads there. My YouTube channel is, I answer people's questions all the time. So go there, subscribe, and let me answer your questions. And then lastly, my podcast, Intimate Conversations, and you will be a guest soon. Go there on iTunes, and I also film it on YouTube, so it's there as well. So lots of places for people to get great information.
Awesome. Allana, thank you again so much. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. So my question for you is, where in your love, lifestyle, leadership, and legacy do you find yourself still seeking external things to validate yourself when reality is the internal work hasn't been done for you to be prepared emotionally and spiritually for the journey, for the life that you want? And what is your intention or declaration, if you will, to go inside and find that part that's going to open up the life that you ultimately want? Take time to really think about that. This is a very deep conversation, so feel free to watch this multiple times because a lot of things were shared here, and I'm so grateful that we got to experience that. You know, and so you ultimately, you know, my intention is to help you live a better life, and you can do it a lot faster than you really believe. And a lot of that has to do around getting support. And I know for some of you guys have been looking for support. When you're ready, go to thomasedwardsjr.com/talk. You can get more information about what that is and how I can support you in that process. And if you like this video, give me some love, like a thumbs up or a like or subscribe, or share this with someone who needs to hear this message, because ultimately they too can live a better life with the right intention. That's all I got, guys. Until the next time, this is Thomas Edwards saying, keep it simple, be amazing, and live intentionally.